Hi, this is Jacob Adams. I'm a fitness and leadership coach. I'm here with Lyna Rose, who's a writer talking about love and how love cannot wait. She's got a new book coming out soon about visualizations. Lyna, do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself and why love? Why can love not wait?
Yes, hi. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm, as I said yesterday, I'm actually not going to do many interviews. So who am I? My gosh, I don't know where to start. I feel like I've become so many people to really come back to the essence of love. So I'm a writer. I'm a French-American writer. I grew up in Normandy, France. I was born and raised as an orphan. As I never knew my dad. My mom abandoned me when I was a young child. And my great-grandparents raised me until I was 12 years old. Then I was raised in foster homes. Several families were emotionally and physically abusive. And then when I was 20 years old, I was given the opportunity to move to America, and I was given a second chance. So I moved to Utah, to a small town in Utah back in 2001. And then my life was turned around and never the same. And today what I do, I get it right and really share my journey of recovery from abandonment, from lovelessness, from abuse, to really demonstrate that love is the greatest force at play in the universe in any given moment, unless we block it from our heart and from our mind. And given what's going on in our world and in our country and the general consciousness, I think that love cannot wait indeed, because it is almost at the brink of really transforming who we are from the inside out. And the more voices that speak up and share their stories that are awaiting to be helping other souls as well, then the greater the transformation, the more wholeheartedly we will live, expanding who we are as presences and forces for good. So that's kind of what I do. I do so many things, and I don't really have a brand or a specific message except then love. So
well, love is a big one. I think that love is so central to our being, and we like to complicate it as humans. We like to make things very fancy. Currently there's Bitcoin coming out, which is a great new currency coming out, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And we live in a world where science is dominating, like technology is dominating the world, even in dating apps or now currency. This conversation couldn't happen without technology. So technology is at the forefront of a lot of what we do as humans, and yet nothing seems to be more important than love, because at the core of all of that behavior, I really believe, I want to build a great company, and if you I've examined myself over and over, and it consistently comes back to, well, I want to support a family. Or, okay, why do you want to support a family? For love. It comes down to love. So I'm with you, and I think I didn't know you were an orphan and all that. And
so I think that no matter what happens in our life, I think that life always tries to bring us back to a full circle of who we can become as a human being. So I think that every intervention of life, whether it is abandonment, heartbreak, divorce, loss, I think it's always calling us back to the center of our being, so that we may feel ourselves with love, with inspiration, with wisdom, so that we can share that and feel ourselves before we go into the world, rather than project out our pain. So if we feel ourselves with inspiration, with wisdom, with love, and if we are present enough to listen to what life wants us to do, then we become wholehearted and wholesome human beings. And can you imagine a chain of wholesome, wholehearted human beings? What could that do in this world for the future generations? And I think that's why that there's a certain sense of urgency of not waiting. Maybe 2 years ago, I was meditating, and I pictured myself on my deathbed. And I thought, what if today I decided to stop doing what I was doing? What if I allowed my self-doubt get in the way and choose a completely different path in my life, where I wouldn't write, stop sharing, stop teaching, stop writing, and just the emotional death and an enormous wave of regret came over me. What I would feel like if 50 years from now, I still had not chosen to heed to that voice that was telling me to write. And in a more enormous sense that I had wasted an entire lifetime that I had been given 80 years. I had done nothing because I had allowed fear to master me. You know, so I think that the sense of not taking life for granted and of being present and slowing down. So I think that we can tell life what we want it to do for us. It's never going to work out. I think it's about, and I think there are many signs. It's about really slowing down so that life gets ahead of us and we can follow its flow. It's designed for us. And just not getting ahead of ourselves and of God or our life. So I interchange words because I love God greatly, but also know that words are symbols of how we experience the divine. So I don't want words to get in the way of how someone may relate to the sacred, to the holy, to the beloved.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy we got to do this interview because you've hit so many key ideas. Even the way you closed up that idea of not of words or symbols to the sacred and how it can sometimes alienate some people that they may be atheists or they may say things like the universe, and it's like someone that really understands it's not really about excluding anyone. It's not about an exclusion. And we live in that world where, you know, sometimes even religion, which is supposed to unify, tends to, oh, you know, you're this religion, I can't date you or I can't be with you because you're this religion and I'm this religion. And so it's kind of, I've always saw that as a kid growing up. I always saw like, but if there's one God, then why can't we all just worship that one?
Right. Yeah. So I think that inclusion is part of becoming wholehearted beings. You know, I really believe that our heart is the soul of humanity. That's how life, that's how creation communicates what we need to do, what we need to release, what we need to heal to become wholesome, to become an anthropos, which is a Greek word for whole human being. And I think we love to play God without doing the work, you know, without being disciplined, without doing our art, or without serving, and without showing up in every situation that we are given. And we love to judge, we love to decide who is deserving of our time and of love. And I really do try to live in a way that respects and honors everyone that I meet. I try. I'm not perfect. I think it's a practice. I think it's just like building muscles. But whether it's someone who's cleaning the bathroom at Walmart, or, you know, a celebrity or a politician or, you know, a spiritual guru, you know, no one's perfect. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So I think it's about stepping away from wanting to play God and rather trying to allow that love work through us rather than using that as a force to judge and to separate.
What is, I mean, you've given me so much here, so I'm going to take one thing and we'll go back to the stuff that's excited me, because this one's easy to miss. What is doing the work? Because that's almost become like Nike, just do it, or like, you know, whatever. It's like a slogan now, like, do the work. You know what I mean? Do the work, the inner work. Have you done the work? You know what I mean? Like, and so it's almost like sexy. It's becoming sexy to do the work. So what does that mean? Because while it's becoming like this, like there's I see it like this. There's like the elite group of people that do the work. And then there's like a lot of people that they hear that and they're like, what the fuck is the work? Excuse me. You know,
yeah.
I'm just saying that's how they would feel. Like, what? What do you mean do the work? Because I think I was one of those people at one time, like, do the work. So what is that? Do the work. What does that even mean?
So I think for me, doing the work is living fully and being present to whatever arises in our heart and in our mind. So as being, you know, a child of abandonment and chronic rejection, you know, my mom rejected me, and then my great grandparents died, and then my foster families, you know, really conditioned me to believe that I was not deserving of anything good because of who I came from, namely generations of women who disrespected their body, their mind, their heart, their life. So for me, I had to be present to the emotions of not being worthy, not being good enough. And when I began my spiritual path, meaning going back within myself to connect with the love and wisdom that's greater than me, any negative emotion, I would push them to the side because they were not spiritual. Step is acceptance, accepting that we're not perfect, accepting that we have the right to feel what we feel. And once we remove the I shouldn't be that way from the notebook of our mind, then we can look at the emotions and see where they come from and allow them to walk us back to the root of who allowed us, who made us feel a certain way, who conditioned us to believe when we were a child that we did not deserve love or that love had to look a certain way. So I often recommend journaling at first too, because awareness, if we're not aware of our emotions, if we're not aware of our wounds, then we cannot heal them. Doing a journaling practice of what we felt during the day, what were negative emotions, to really holding those emotions with tenderness. I think holding ourselves with tenderness and acceptance is the pathway to growth and transcendence.
Tenderness.
So doing the work, I think that's surrendering every day. I think that it is listening to, are you still there? Because the image is blurry and it's not moving.
I am. I think it's one of our
still good?
Yeah, we're good. I'm going to turn off, I'm going to close off one of the, yeah, we're okay. We're okay.
Okay. Wow, I lost my flow now.
No, I don't think you can lose your flow. I think you're pretty spot on, Lyna. I think you're pretty spot on.
Okay, surrender. Surrender is a big one. You know, I went through several nights of the soul where I was imposing my plan onto life, meaning I didn't want to work retail anymore. I was too good for retail. I wanted to write full time. And I remember one morning being in my shower and realizing, we're just like, okay, nothing I was doing was working. And I thought I was telling the universe what I wanted to do for me. I thought the universe was just, you know, a handmaid who was supposed to give.
Oh no. Give me a second. We're going to see if I can get Lyna back. Are you there? You're there? Are you back?
Hello again.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I think I was telling you, I want to tell the viewers, we had some technical issues at the beginning, and I told Lyna, I said, I think what you're going to share is going to be so good and powerful. And Lena's actually talking about the universe right now. Yeah. I believe that whenever you try to bring light, like come from a place of love and light and sincerity, there's always a resistance, like a positive and negative, like just science. And I think that's all that's occurring. I think Lena's giving so much truth and so much beauty and so much power that I think that it's just part of the chaos of life is going to try to stop her.
Right. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, but it's okay because you know what? It will, you know, we at the risk of sounding cliche, I know that love and light. I mean, it sounds so new agey, and it's so not me, but it is true. I think that we have to have a stubbornness. We have to be just as stubborn as resistance.
Oh, woo!
No, and I think that's part of doing the work. Are you stubborn enough to believe in the work that is boiling within you? When it comes to creativity, to spirituality, you know. So I think that the moment when my life really changed, Adam, is when I remember being on my knees, and I asked life, creation, how can I serve you from here on until I die? Bring me opportunities to serve the world and to serve you and to be an instrument. And when you utter these words from the deepest well of your heart, things will change and unfold for you. You know, so again, it's changing our perspective and our worldview. Well, you know, instead of using God as Santa Claus, as I mentioned in my book of prayers, but showing up knowing that we already have or we are going to be given what we need. And when we show up a consciousness of how can we serve, what can we do to bring forth all the jewels that are hidden inside of us, then the cosmos opens up and things show up magically out of nowhere.
Oh, that was powerful. That was powerful. I was gonna ask on your Instagram. It says love evangelist. I don't know. I don't know if I have to ask anymore. I don't even know if I have to ask anymore. I think I get it. Your story is beautiful. I was gonna ask about the struggle of you came to the United States. On your Instagram, you showed that you came to the United States. I read one of your photos. It shows how you were pregnant.
Yeah.
And then it says that the little paragraph says that the guy or the man that you were with, he left you, abandoned you, or something while you were pregnant. That is crazy to me. Like, in other words, why? Like, why? That immediately my question is, how and why?
Right.
And I wanted you to share a little bit about that story because number one, I think any woman that goes through something like that and is now where you're at is stronger than some men with big muscles. You know what I mean? Because the level of strength I think that you need, the amount of love that you need, the amount of clarity and purpose that you need, it's such a high level that. Would you share a little bit about that story?
Oh, absolutely. So I believe that in order to be the master of our own existence and to allocate our energy or time or effort or discipline, we first have to see where we held responsibility. Otherwise, we remain victims the rest of our life. So at the time before I got married, there were signs he was not 100% sure that he wanted to be with me. But I kept pushing it. I kept trying to convince him that he wanted to love me, that he wanted to be with me. And for me, a woman should never convince a man that he needs to love her. It is either there or it's not. She needs to come back to a center of self-love, of honoring her worth no matter what. And if the man does not recognize it, then it's simply not a match. You will find someone who will honor your worth, your gifts, your shadows, your past, the brightness of your future. You first have to behold it within yourself. So now that I look back, I can see how I was totally dismissing myself by choosing to remain in a relationship that was not loving towards me. So although it's not to take away any responsibility from, from a partner in an abusive relationship, because we always have a choice to act on our anger, to act on our wounds, I know that I should have listened to the signs, but I don't have the spiritual and emotional stamina to walk away because I was so attached and I was so hungry to be accepted and to be taken care of and to be loved, that I allowed that to inform my decision. My wounds at the time were stronger than my self-worth and my honor.
That was pretty solid. That was solid. My goodness. I relate to you in the sense that I was in a relationship that wasn't that. It was just verbally really, it drained me verbally. There was a lot of words exchanged towards me. And I think I know what you're saying, that instead of, I forgive her, that's great, but I have to forgive myself because, like you were saying, it's like I knew better. Like, why was I? And on some level, I was expecting her to be a better person, but she couldn't. Like, could she? In theory, yeah, but she couldn't. She didn't have the strength within her. She didn't have the capacity, and in a way, and so that's my fault for lying to myself, that wanting her to be better, or like for me, like be better for me. And it's like it's a similar thing what you just said about how we sometimes want how women might sometimes want a man, and if it's not there, it's not there. It's a very similar energy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it really does take practicing self-esteem before you actually feel it. Because what I've learned is that our self-esteem is always watching our actions 24/7.
Yes, amen.
When you act as if you really believe in yourself and honor yourself, and that's actually something I'm going to be really addressing in my next book. I'm working on a book on the queen archetype. and how to awaken the sovereign within yourself. I think that within the great feminine mother archetype that's awakening globally, and I think that the queen archetype is really powerful. The good queen, because the queen also has shadows, but it's really a call to every woman to believe in their honor, in their worth, and to practice that, because their self-esteem is always watching. And then one day you're like, wow, I'm working over from that situation, and maybe 10 years ago I will have stuck. I'll have been stuck in that situation because I don't believe in myself enough. So important. Yourself is always watching what you do and how you are conducting yourself and how you're holding yourself when no one is watching.
I love it. I'm with you. You know what? When I read your stuff on Instagram, I think that's why it just penetrated to me. It was like, I was like, who is this person? And I was like, let me reach out to this person, because I'm with you. I love that you talk about feminism and the sobering queen and the dark queen and the shadow aspect, because I talk with some of my male friends, and most of my viewers used to be male, about 70% male on YouTube. And actually, I was going to tell you that, but believe it or not, there's been less males and more females watching as of lately. I was going to tell you one of the questions to tell, what can you tell men on how to be better men? That was going to be one of my questions. But I want to finish up what I was saying here about, because I was like, because I have mainly a male audience, but actually that's changed as of lately. But what I'm saying is that, what can you tell me about this dark queen, sobering queen? Because that's actually very interesting, because I talked about it with some of my friends that are men, and we talked about how there is this modern feminism isn't, to us, it isn't all good. Like, I don't see it as, oh, it's perfect. I think there's it's sort of, for me, I think it's sort of like people like yourself who are being self-aware, all about self-esteem, getting away from bad situations, you know, listening to your inner voice, all about love. Like, sign us up. Like, where do we sign? Like, that's great. But I think that there's also this shadow aspect that I see, is like where it's starting to hate men for just for anything. Like, where it's like, because we have breath, we breathe. Did you see the way he breathes? Like, it's like that's an exaggeration. Obviously, that's not happening at the moment. So can you break that down? If you could help me unpackage that as a woman like yourself, I think that would help the world.
I'm gonna try. So, a few days ago, there was a woman that told me she'd been married for 30 years, and I asked her, like, what's the key? And you know what she said? It was really wise. It was a short statement. She said, men are fragile. And I think that we put on so many different masks because we feel that we have to. So men have to put on the mask of, oh, I cannot be emotional. I cannot, share my vulnerability because I'm supposed to be strong and a provider and a leader and tough. But I think that if we create a space of safety around our vulnerability on both sides of the spectrum, and in the men and women, we will see that we are very fragile. And if we hold that in tenderness, in acceptance, then it will invite both sides to share and to actually bond over what joins us, which is our desire for connection, for love, for meaning, for success, to strive to be seen for who we really are, rather than a provider, rather than a body, or rather than a woman. And the role of the feminine is to heal, is to bridge, is to bring together. And what I've seen, as you mentioned, is a lot of finger pointing and anti-men. So now, because our society was mainly guided and controlled by a patriarchic force, if you will. So then, when women became liberated around the 1950s, they realized, oh, I don't have to get married. I don't need men anymore. I think we swung back to the severe opposite of the spectrum. But now it's time to become the bridging and healing medium. And
amen. Sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up.
That's the job of the feminist, to heal and to be a space, to think of the cup, to receive, to be a space of love, and also of justice.
Amen. Amen. Where do I sign? Sign me up. You have a petition. Like, that sounds healthy. That sounds healthy. And I think that many men, like, okay, my mom raised me and my sister and my brother for a long time. She raised my brother from ages, 8 to now on her own because they were divorced. I love my dad very much. I love him very much. He has his health issues and stuff like that. Now, that said, what I brought that up for is that I I would hate anyone to treat my mother like less than a person, less than an equal, less than something, because she's my mom and I love her. And to me, and or my sister, or one day my wife, or my daughter, like, I would hate anyone to make her feel like less than a human being. And so, to me, that's why I consider myself a pretty balanced feminist of sorts. Meaning, like, I don't know. I'm not some guy that's like, oh, I'm feminist. I'm not trying to be like that. I'm not trying to be at the forefront of the movement. I could just say that from just a common sense level, I believe women deserve and need equality. So I say I'm very centered. I'm not very, like, outspoken about it. I'm just sort of like, yeah. So do you think that there's men out there that are against women's women's equality? Is there men that are?
I think, that whenever there's a shift that, is going to take us out into an unknown, into the unknown, I think it's going to be uncomfortable and there'll be some resistance. But I think what I'm feeling guided to share is that when we forgive, as women, when we forgive the men that have hurt us in our life, then we will be able to release all the judgment towards all men, and actually attract and witness and appreciate and love the healthy masculine.
It comes down to forgiveness. It's the forgiveness.
Yeah. And that was key for me. When I forgave all my experiences in my relationships, and when I forgave all the men in my life, and I'm not saying it was all their fault. Obviously, we'll always, have a play in our experiences. But when I forgave them, I was released from the judgment and from projecting it onto every man I would see. So again, it's about really clearing the path, like the emotional, intellectual pathways, so we can actually be forces of healing and join and have dialogues between both sides, and giving a healthy, vulnerable masculine a space to support us as well. It's meant to be a dance, not a fight.
You know what's awesome about this conversation for me is that I think, I don't know if I wrote it down or I thought it. Me, I thought, like, this is gonna be like a dance of a conversation, because I think I think you represent male energy, and I'm a male energy, meaning, like, I'm very much into weightlifting, and, like, I like fast cars, and I like, success, and I like ambition, and so, I mean, I like science, So what I'm trying to get at is, but by the same time, by the same token, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
When you say that men are fragile, I agree 100%. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I believe that it's a dance occurring, like, because I think we're part of, like, the movement on both levels. Like, so I think in many ways I represent good masculine energy, but what about you? Like, what would you say is the point of masculine energy? If you talk about feminine energy or femininity, what is good masculinity in your view?
Righteous action, integrity, loyalty to one's principles, even when it's not convenient. Also to being the rock of any transformation that needs to occur, being a rock of the feminine energy, just as the woman will be the supportive pillow of her man as well, literally and metaphorically speaking. I think that a healthy masculine will not witness, will not be passive when he witnesses injustice. when he witnesses, oh, you know what, actually there's a story last week, and I really watched the news, but there was a man at a bar here in Salt Lake City, and he saw a woman being carried by two men to the bathroom, and you could tell she didn't want to go. So they forced her into the bathroom, and there were two other guys that came and guarded the door. And so he went and started banging on the door, and then the two guys had to beat him up, took him outside, broke his jaw, and he's like, you know, had to go to the hospital, and it's going to take him weeks to recover. But he was not, you know, just a bystander. He took action for what was right, no matter what. And I honored that man so much because, you know, he did that. That's the healthy, protective, masculine. You know, the masculine face of justice and of righteousness and of love as well. That's, you know, protecting and strong and so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. And whoever that man is, if you want to get his name or something later, we can give him a shout out, or I'll tag him in the video. Thank you, sir, for being a good example of that. I mean, that takes a certain level of courage to break your jaw. That's like, I mean, come on, like that's like another level. Like, wow, I don't know. I don't know how many of us would have gotten our jaw broken for that situation. And I'm being very sincere. That's, maybe call the police officers or something like that, for sure. Like, but I don't know.
You didn't expect I would take that turn, you know. You just thought, you know, well, once it scare the guys away, but no. So yeah, you know, I think as women also it's important to invite and allow men to be vulnerable with how they've been wounded as well. Because when you are seen for everything that you are, you feel safer to become who you can be.
Yeah.
Again, it's giving each other a tender space, non-judgment, to come clean as well. You know, that's why I remember once in Facebook, I've asked the men, I addressed the men very specifically, and I asked them, men, how have you been wounded by, you know, the women in your life? And I had so many men who, you know, who expressed how they cried just by thinking of the experiences, and they were so touched and appreciative that someone would ask them that, you know, because it has been all about the women, which is important because women's voices, you know, I'm also writing a historical novel about a woman who lived in northern France who was 1880, and she was formerly forbidden to work and to follow her passion. And I don't talk about it too much because I don't want to jinx my creative project. But at the time in France, women were not legally allowed to wear pants. They had to get a paper at the town hall, or they had to receive permission by their husband to wear pants. Like I had to wear dresses. So again, so that's, you know, that's one, what the movement is wonderful, you know, to reclaim equality of rights and of voices, but let's not leave the men behind. That's all I'm asking.
That's all I'm asking.
Behind. We need you. We need each other.
Yes. Yeah, that's me. One of my friends, again, we talk about it all the time. I was like, here's a secret. Here's a secret we as men say. If women knew how much men are willing to do for them, I don't think a good man, a noble man, a man that has character and loyalty and integrity, like you were saying, I don't think they would pick on us as much, or like the gender, not good men, or
right.
Men are willing to do almost anything for a woman, almost anything. Like good men. Like, again, I think if someone is a rapist or somebody just is looking to, you know, have sex with women and then just not call them the next day, or just, you know, take. I'm not talking about that type of man. Does that make sense? Is what bothers women the fact that those men that I just mentioned, like the ones that are kind of just being like players, or just taking and not giving back, or is that what bothers women about men, like that sort of, because they're sometimes considered like, oh, he's a stud because he's sleeping with women. Is that what is it about men that is not good? Because we talked about what is good about men. So what is the feminist movement not like about men?
I don't think I can speak about that. I don't think I can speak for all women. I don't think it would be fair. I think that for me personally, my experience, the traits or characteristics or actions that I personally did not enjoy in men were the times when I was first not honoring myself and choosing the man who could not honor a woman in the way she deserved to. When I began to do the work and to really build the scaffolding of my worth within myself, then the type of men I attracted were drastically different. There were men that would open the door for me, that would pay for dinner, that would listen, that would support me in my work. But that only came after I did that for myself, after I chose to support myself. So the things that I didn't like and for a long time I was in my masculine. So I would attract men who always wanted me to come. And like I had an ex-boyfriend, I would always come to his place. He would really come to my place 2 or 3 times. Or, I would often pay for the both of us. Or he would never make decisions, or he would never take the lead. I was doing all the work. But because from the get-go, I didn't think I needed a man. The few times he would ask to help, I said, no, I don't need your help. So I was so much in my masculine because I thought I had to prove myself. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to take the risk of being hurt again. That basically almost set an imprint at the energetic dance for the remainder of the relationship. And then, of course, at the end, I blamed him for not being a certain way. And after that relationship, I realized, wow, in what ways was I in my masculine? In what ways did not let myself be soft, be taken care of, be loved, be seen, be relaxed, So again, it was just all about readjusting my own characteristics, who I needed to embody in order to be balanced and to attract a balanced man as well. That makes sense?
It makes complete sense. It makes so much sense that I'm beginning to think that there's like okay, like if somebody gets married at like 21 years old or 22, because my parents got married at that age. I think that people like yourself, people like myself, that get through the 20s, right? I think that we get to work on ourselves, do the work. We get to work on ourselves and unpackage the wounds, observe it, see how it's sort of attracting people, making us not do things that we shouldn't do, and it's holding us back. Like, I think that that's what I see. Like, there's like, if people can spend some time being single and do the work, we start having conversations like this, and people like yourself start speaking out, like, hey, listen, like, there's stuff going on within us. There's stuff inside that we got to address. And it's very like Carl Jung, Jungian psychology, it's like the yogi, the meditation, it's the hero's journey, the path inward. Like, it's very Buddhist. It's all of the teachings of our civilization that say, like, there's light inside. There's light inside. People like yourself and myself, for whatever reason, we've been lucky enough and blessed enough, whether because of the pain, like you shared your pain as being raised an orphan and the breakups and stuff. I think that the pain that we exhibit, when pain meets a noble heart, the heart starts transmuting and is doing whatever it can to heal that pain. And I think that by the opposite token, if there's not a noble heart, the heart of a lion, that pain can sometimes overtake the human being and maybe even kill him. Like, I think that's where suicide happens. I think that's where addictions happen, because the pain is now running the programming behind the person. I mean, what do you think about that, Lyna?
Well, I think that a belief that's rampant in a lot of individuals who have experienced enormous pain throughout their childhood is the belief that they are going to spend the rest of their life as the victims of these wounds that they cannot heal. And that was my belief for a very long time. I thought that I could not hold my heart open to another man. I thought I was doomed, that I would probably end up in a convent, because that was my belief. I believe I could no longer heal. That was too late for me. And I think that once we unpack that belief and are willing to see, oh, I can actually alter and transmute the pain of my childhood. And that's really where the rubber meets the road, where we become willing to see that the future does not have to look like the past. And that's like the first belief we have to undo, that we're stuck like this forever and that we cannot heal. Wounds heal. It's just like a physical wound, but you have to let it air. You have to nurture it. You cannot, keep it covered. Otherwise, you will not. Yeah. So.
I mean, I don't think you understand, Lyna. I don't think you even understand the level of bliss in my mind right now, in my heart, for this interview, because you've just brought to the surface so many things in a way I believe a woman can bring it to the surface. Like you said, it's women, the feminine energy heals. I think that's what I feel, because all these things that you're saying, I've thought them. I've made videos on them. I study them, but it's like this energy of like hearing it said. Like you said it perfectly when you said it's just like a physical wound.
Mm.
But if you tell a man that, like if you tell a masculine man that, like, look, you have inner wounds,
right,
and they are just like physical wounds, and you need to air them out, and you need to let them heal. Like there's some resistance there because of the mask of masculinity, like the tough. I don't need that. I don't need that. I remember one time I was in a relationship, and it went on for 6 years.
Mm.
Towards the end, she goes, I'm willing to work our differences out if you consider going to counseling with me. And maybe I would have now I would have enjoyed it, but back then, this is over 10 years ago, I couldn't. I hated the idea. I hated the idea of going to some counselor to hear how I'm wrong, how I need to improve. Like I just couldn't stand it. Does that make some sense? I thought like it was bullshit.
Of course.
And now, because now I'm more than open to it, because but I think I had to hit my rock bottom for myself. I was ever on the street, with a needle in my arm, praise God that I never got to that point. But my rock bottom for me was I had the money, I had the physical body, I had the girlfriend, I had the house, I had the college degree, and I felt a little bitter, a little sad, I felt sadness.
Did you feel unseen?
Unseen? Unseen? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily unseen. A little bit unseen, but mainly. Let me see if I can go back to that place.
Misunderstood, maybe.
Misunderstood and sad. Like, let me see. I'm trying to go back to that place. I was sitting down. It felt like no matter what I achieved, I couldn't feel like I had arrived. It felt like I kept arriving to my corner. I got the house, I got the car, I got the girlfriend I wanted, had the body, I was strong, I could, do things. I could play guitar. I could, I kept hitting the checks, like check, 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 and I was like, so when does the sadness end? So when does the sadness go away? And that's where I started kind of shifting. And for me, my shift was when I read a book. I had always carried this book with me all the time. It was always Man's Eternal Quest, and it said, "Your time will come, and when it does, you will ask yourself, did I make time to get to know Him?" Referring to God, and that could be the universe. That could be, I'm not trying to be religious or impact or put my religion on people. That's not what this is about. I'm just saying I knew it was true. I felt like, yeah, that's gonna happen. Like if that will happen, like where my time's gonna come, and the ultimate question at that time that I need to know on my deathbed is, did I make time for God? Did I even try? Really? Does that make any sense to you? Does that resonate with you on any level?
I think that what is a pivotal point in one's existence is when we meet the face of a purpose. Because then that becomes almost like the resin in a tree. It becomes the blood of our soul and of our existence. And once we find the flow of our passion, of what we came here to do, of that fire that burns within our heart day in and day out. So for me, it's writing, it's creativity. Once we tap into that and we surrender into that flow, it's going to be like the river of the cosmos is going to take us to places we could have never imagined. And then we stop feeling like we have not arrived. We still have to strive, and just that eternal racing after status, after something. And when we do find it, we still don't feel complete. It's still a void. And that void can only be filled by honoring and acting on our purpose. And I know it sounds so cliche.
No.
And my life was different. Then yes, things will come up here and there. You'll feel some void, but you will always have the substance of your soul, of your passion to feed you first. And I think that's such a treasure. Once you have once you have met with your purpose, I think it's the biggest gift, and we cannot take it for granted. And that's why I do not take my writing, my creativity for granted. And the relationship with our craft, with our passion is so important. What can we do to protect it? How do we nurture it? Where does it sit on the priorities that we have in our life?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now that I believe with all sincerity that you're a leading writer in my scheme of, like, you have Paulo Coelho, you have Neil Strauss, you have people that are Brendan Burchard, you have people that are pushing, and again, these are all men, and I think that you bring such beauty to the scene of, like, visualization. Like, I wanted to talk about that. Like, one of the things that caught my attention in your book was visualization. That's something that coaches, championship coaches, Olympic coaches talk about, visualization. And I think it's wonderful that you bring this spin of love to it, because I think men, for some reason, the masculinity tends to sort of push the word love aside as like they're not as quick to say it. I think that's sort of, like, I think you'll lead with it, like love evangelist, you'll lead with it, and men will throw it in the toolbox. Like, yeah, love is in there, but it's like you kind of lead with it, and as you make it seem like love is the answer, is kind of what I'm saying. That's what I get from your writing. You're like, love is the answer, right? That's kind of one of the central themes.
I think I have to be grounded as well. And again, it's about that balance. If you think of the two triangles, then the masculine is the intellect, is reason, and then you have the love, the emotion, the wisdom, inspiration. And we need both of them, because what I've witnessed a lot and way too much in my community, and I was going down that road for a while as well, is that we turn away from the world. We spend time in meditation. We talk about fairies and unicorns and aliens, because we don't want to operate in this world. And the purpose of true spirituality is to bring the heavens into the matter of the world, not turn away from the world and stay in la la land 24/7. So again, it's about like the matter, the solid matter, the world, everyday life, the masculine, and bringing in that feminine inspiration, wisdom, love. We need both.
Yeah. Like,
and you have to ground it. So I would actually, when you feel that it's time to part ways, I would love to end with a visualization that I received a few days ago. That's about peace. Because in order to have peace in the world and to bring peace wherever we go, we must have peace in our heart. And there are ways to trigger that level of energy within ourselves, no matter what's happening outside of ourselves.
Okay. Well, you tell me when you got to go. This interview, I have another 10, 15 minutes easy.
Okay. Yeah.
So and when I first, typically people think that like an hour is a long time, but as you can see, like it goes by really fast. So what I was going to say is that men, you wrote on one of your memes, it says that men run away when they feel that you have fear for them. In other words, I can't quote it 100%, but it was like if a woman has fear of men, that men will sometimes feel it and then
yes.
and then run away from that.
Those are my exact words.
No, those weren't your exact words. I'm not trying to quote you verbatim, so I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or like I'm not trying to do that. Respectfully speaking, it was something along the lines of like and so if there's not enough reference points, I just kind of wrote down the note here, but it was like sometimes women will have fear of, like, maybe it was talking about the, like, not forget.
Okay, so here's the tangent we could take. I think that especially when when we are on a date or we're getting to know each other, I think because a woman is not really secure in what she has to bring to the table, then that she can provide for herself or that her life is already complete, she will try to find in a man what she thinks she lacks. And how that becomes translated at times is that she begins to have an agenda for the man. Okay, is he going to provide enough for me? I'm gonna be able, he's gonna give me like a house, the car of my dream, and all of that life. So then instead of really being herself and seeing the man and his soul, she almost like projects onto him what she wants him to be. Does that make sense? And I think that it creates friction. I think the man feels used. And I think as women, we're not always aware that we are doing that. Rather than just being relaxed in who we are, with our passion, with our work, with what we've done, with where we are going in life, not feeling that we have to prove ourselves to a man and, and speak like 200 miles per hour and have an agenda of where we want the relationship to go rather from the first day. Or, he has all this checklist, I'm going to manipulate him into becoming my boyfriend and marrying me so I can have that amazing life. No, what are you getting to know the man on a deeper level? What are his dreams? Like, get to know his soul and his heart before you design an agenda for him.
I think that both genders do that on some level, where it's almost like the math.
Yeah.
The math is at the front versus saying people don't understand. Like the way I see it is you're kind of speaking of alchemy or like the overarching soul, which is more important because that ultimately is the best math. It's, in other words, how are these two going to combine and what are they going to create together?
Right.
I think men do that in another direction where they'll say, okay, does she have the beauty that I want? And it's a similar thing where they kind of say, okay, does she look good? And how does she look? And it's like, it's similar. It's a little shallow because it's like, dude, she could look a certain way. She could put a filter on. She could be great at makeup. She could be all these things, but what's her heart? What is she about? Is her character? Does she have discipline over herself? Does she understand what are her value? What's her value? What does she value in her heart? Like who is the king of her heart? What is she a servant to? And is it God? Is it money? Is it what? And I think that men need to also do the same thing where it's like, dude, like you can't. But again, I think I think people like ourselves, like I said, we're mature. And so there must have been a time where maybe you did that too, right? Well, I know that at one point I was more what's that?
That's how I learned it. But I have only about a few minutes left.
Okay, of course. Yeah, do the visualization.
I could talk like forever, so maybe we can do another one.
Yeah, of course.
There's some other aspects that we didn't get to share and talk about, but it's been so amazing.
Yeah, it really was amazing.
It's natural, so it's I love to share inspiration. Although I'm not gonna do many interviews, but just hopefully my publisher won't be listening to it. He's not gonna be happy.
I mean, it'll likely get some views. Anytime I interview anyone, especially when I've always seen my interview videos tend to sustain a pretty longer period than.
Perfect.
So I think this will be, and I think this has been one of my best. So one of the best. Listen, So did you want to do the visualization? The name of your book, by the way, the name of your book is?
Oh yes, yeah, my book. I know, that's right. I can have to talk about it. So much have gone. You know, I mean, it's been 2 years to birth it. So I wrote a modern book of prayers and visualizations and affirmations that are based on daily challenges. You know, so you have a prayer, like a short poetic prayer to reorganize our thoughts around a certain topic, such as motherhood, fatherhood, how to release a partner, how to surrender, you know, in romance, how to find your purpose, how to ignite your creativity, 52 basic themes that are just, you know, concrete challenges. And then there's a visualization or a meditation, if you will, that will quite literally reorganize your energy and open up more wisdom and inspiration to enter your heart and your mind, and affirmations. So as you work with those prayers and visualizations, they will open up and really shift your energy. And actually, I need to find a better word than energy because it's so new agey, and I'm really kind of trying to steer away from that. But it works, you know, it works if you work it. So we're going to do a visualization for peace, for inner peace. Really short, but write it down in something that you can really do. You know, would invite you to do it every night, you know, for 7 days, and see how, even as I'm speaking about it, I can literally feel my heart drop and just settle. Okay, so we're going to close our eyes. And we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. And release out the mouth. We're going to take another really deep breath in through the nose. And release. And now I want you to picture your heart space as a chamber, as a square room, almost like a deep burgundy color. There's nothing inside there. And now as we begin to see for ourselves that room that is our heart, we began to see a rain, a golden rain, fall in that room. Almost like a mist of golden shimmer that is falling upon our heart. And we feel really fine, shimmery gold beginning to deposit a fine mist of gold at the bottom of that room, on the floor, at the floor of our heart. And we allow that fine mist of golden peace to soften and soothe our heart and all the tension that may exist in there. Really let that rain of gold soothe you. As you let the mantle of peace cover all fears and tensions and negative thoughts, melt into the infinity of that golden love. And when like you, and you're going to do it on your own, just sit with that feeling of having gold all around your heart, like a mantle of peace that is a gift for you to have anytime and anywhere. You can open your eyes when you're ready.
Thank you, Lyna. That was very lovely, and I definitely feel my peak state there is healing, a sense of healing.
Good.
I've really truly loved this interview. The name of your book again was?
Enlighten Your Life, 52 Prayers, Visualization, and Love. It's a modern prayer book.
I look forward to getting it. When is it released?
So now it's available for pre-orders and be released on Easter Sunday. You go to my website. I'm like, promotion at me.
No, please.
LynaRose.com. LynaRose.com, and there will be several links on there where you can pre-order it. And it will be launched, you know, on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and other retailers on Easter Sunday, April 1st. Or April Fool's Day. That's great for, you know, for launch day for a book. I love that.
What about, would you do an audible version? I know that you're hearing your voice explain it would be great, but it was just an idea. That's just an idea.
I know, yeah. I think I'm going to record a meditation album at some point. That was part of it. But then I launched a publishing company as well. I say my own publishing and print a few months ago. So that, you know, everything been quite crazy. But yeah, meditation album will be, you know, happening sometime in 2018. So
Right on. I'm very, very grateful for the interview. Everyone, Lyna Rose, and she's given us plenty to talk about, think about, work on, and like some of the other people that I've interviewed, she's given us so many gems there, and has invited you on the journey inward so that you yourself can start living your life with purpose, and some of that wisdom that she has shared from herself it's also within you. Lyna, any last words for the viewers?
Don't be afraid of your heart. It's really it's the seat of your soul. It is the throne of your life. Don't be afraid of it.
Wow. That's good. I love it. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.